We know Drew Brees as the hero who brought post-Katrina New Orleans to glory, as the deadly accurate QB whose numbers are too good, gaudy. We know who this guy is, legendary quarterback Drew Brees. But that label overshadows the times when he was thought of as different guys. As a guy who was too small for football. A guy who was not good at football. Who was replaceable. And remained replaceable even after improving significantly. And of course, there was the guy who was good after all, but suffered a potentially career-ending injury. Through the prism, we can meet these Drew Breeses. Being 6'1" is above average for the general population, but in professional football, and even college football, anything under like 6'3" is a scarlet number on your head telling recruiters to keep away. Drew Brees, claiming 6'1", had just 2 scholarship offers coming out of high school, even though he won the 1996 state championship his senior year. And his state was Texas, the high school football state. Why didn't colleges want him? Well, he had an ACL tear his junior year, but, didn't hamper him too bad. A year later, he was throwing and running in touchdowns for the state championship. The real sticking point for recruiters was his size. Purdue took a chance on the little fellow, and it paid off handsomely. He proved himself all the way to the Rose Bowl. Oh, what? That's not good enough for the NFL? The league also measured him officially, and turned out he was just barely 6 feet tall. But the Chargers were hopeful Drew would work out. I mean, their current QB was veteran Doug Flutie, 5'10", so surely someone slightly taller could excel. San Diego wanted Brees to eventually take over, be their future. Brees' rookie year, he only played once, but in just over 2 quarters of action, he looked good. San Diego was excited to see more of Brees. They got their wish the following season when new coach Marty Schottenheimer made Brees the starter. And shortly after that, the people of San Diego tried to take their wish back, an impossibility as Jeannie Lore has taught us. Brees was inconsistent at best. He tossed too many interceptions, and even when his completion rate was okay, he wasn't getting down the field. Week 14, he threw 3 interceptions and recorded his 3rd straight game without a touchdown pass. Fans and the media turned on him. Goat is a bad thing here. They're calling him an uncouth animal, fit for braying incessantly and stomping around in his own feces. Their words. The following week, Drew Brees got benched, a move that seemed to cast doubt on his future. He was still the starter for the rest of the season, but looking at his stats for the year, that seemed like a tenuous position at best. Fans pined for a new quarterback, but Schottenheimer was sticking by the young gun for at least one more season. 2003 was Drew Brees' last chance. And he blew it. How bad was he? Well, consider this. Week 3, home game, the announcer was like, "One lucky fan will win an autographed Drew Brees jersey." And the crowd booed and laughed. Nobody wanted that. A free soda would have been a better prize. A soda you have to pay for would have been a better prize. Now, of course, in 2023, a signed Brees Chargers jersey is worth like $500, but there is no way anybody could have predicted that. Calls for his benching continued all season long, while Brees found new ways to define himself as a bad quarterback. Like when he threw 2 interceptions in the first 5 minutes of a game. 3 total, so technically he got better as the game went on. In Week 9, Schottenheimer benched Brees, and the overarching attitude was, took him long enough. At this point, even the locker room had turned against Brees, to the extent that they openly talked about it in the press. Defensive end Marcellus Wiley was asked who should start and said, "Flutie's number, Flutie's number, Flutie's number, Flutie's number." Wiley was comfortable speaking publicly because the feeling was so prevalent among the team. Brees held the clipboard for 5 games. When he returned to the starting spot, he threw 2 touchdown passes, which did not make up for the 3 turnovers, the 2 times they had to settle for field goals inside the Packers' 20, nor the past 2 seasons of sucking. But I wanted to lead with the touchdowns because I'm starting to feel sorry for him. Week 16, he lobbed up 2 interceptions, and Schottenheimer pulled him with just 4:23 left in the game. It was odd. Why bench him so late in the game, down 16 points? There was speculation Schottenheimer was trying to send management a message. Brees was not the future of this team. But sending the message was kind of unnecessary, because Brees spent the whole season screaming the same message. He finished 2003 with 11 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. He averaged under 6 yards per attempt. The Chargers finished 4-12, tied for the worst in the league. Management soon made it explicitly clear that they were getting a new quarterback in the offseason. One bright side of being the worst in the league, you get the first draft pick. I should clarify, this is a bright spot for the Chargers and a dark storming cloud for Drew Brees. And there's lightning coming out of the cloud. And it's setting Drew's stuff on fire. And he's choking on the smoke. What I'm getting at is San Diego drafted themselves a new franchise quarterback. First, they picked Eli Manning, who had specifically said he did not want to play in San Diego, partly because look at how San Diego develops their quarterbacks. But the Chargers simply traded Manning for QB Phillip Rivers. Rivers would be their future. And that very easily could have been the last we heard of Drew Brees. He'd sit on the bench and fade to the background. He'd be remembered as a mistake San Diego made. A good college guy who couldn't cut it in the pros. The end. But Brees got a stroke of luck. You see, Rivers wanted to be very, very rich. As we all do, but Rivers was in a position to make it happen. The rookie held out in contract negotiations and missed a bunch of training camp, which gave Drew Brees a second last chance. And Brees was ready. He'd spent the offseason preparing to fight for his job. He changed and increased his training regimen. He saw a sports psychologist. He worked with a nutritionist. At the start of training camp, he met with his team like he was their real leader rather than a lame duck. He was a new and improved Brees. See, look at his preseason stats. Improved. Drew Brees was named the 04 starter, but of course, Rivers was breathing down his neck. Brees wasn't safe. He hadn't nailed his second last chance. He'd merely extended it. And not for that long. When the Chargers' record hit 1-2, Schottenheimer told Brees it was do or die time. He had one more game to save his job. Then, in that game, he separated his non-throwing shoulder. Rivers started warming up. If this were a sci-fi movie, this is where Brees would look at his own hands and see them flicker and start to disappear. He was about to become a clipboard-holding nobody. Medical staff popped his shoulder back in, and Brees insisted he could play. Schottenheimer gave him one more drive. It was perhaps just a courtesy. Last trip to the park before putting the dog down. But Brees went ahead and scored a touchdown on that drive. Then scored another one on the very next drive. He finished the game 16 of 20 for 206 yards. He threw 3 touchdowns in total and 0 interceptions for the win. What the hell? Was Drew Brees good now? 2 more solid games, and it no longer looked like Brees was a dead man waiting for Rivers to gently roll his corpse aside. He won Comeback Player of the Year, made the Pro Bowl, and led his team to an AFC West title. So here we go, the start of hero Drew Brees, right? Well, not yet. Brees still wasn't secure in his starting spot. His contract was up and he wanted a long-term offer, but he didn't get it. Instead, he was franchise tagged, which increased his salary and kept him around for another year, but also said, "We're still unsure about you." From the Chargers' point of view, they had Rivers and his $40 million contract waiting to step in, so how could they commit to another guy? Plus, GM A.J. Smith, who took over in 2003, hadn't drafted Brees. He'd drafted Rivers, and was perhaps more loyal to his guy. Basically, Drew Brees was still on his second last chance. He still had to prove himself. He still had Rivers ready to step in if he slipped up. One good season wasn't enough. So Brees went out and had another great season. He'd turned a corner, and he wasn't looking back. Now, of course, other people could make him look back, through blunt force, to his throwing arm. By week 16, despite their quarterback entering into elite territory, the Chargers were out of playoff contention. Week 17, last game of the season, nobody expected Brees to play, but he did. In his book, Brees said it was all about maintaining the competitive edge over Rivers, who he still saw as a threat. But there's some speculation he played because of a power struggle between Schottenheimer and management. Smith told Schottenheimer to play Rivers. The coach didn't like being told what to do, so he played Brees. Either way, Brees was in for a meaningless game, dove on a fumble, and tore his labrum plus some of his rotator cuff. It was gruesome. And seemingly career-ending. San Diego didn't think he could come back. They offered him a long-term contract, but it only guaranteed $2 million. There were lots of incentives, but that's not a vote of confidence from his team. That's his team saying, here's a backup's contract, you're welcome to, once again, prove yourself to us. Unwilling to dance for San Diego, Brees entered free agency. But most teams didn't think he was worth pursuing. Only 2 teams were interested, the Saints and the Dolphins. The Saints didn't have much appeal. They were dealing with a city ravaged by Hurricane Katrina and coming off a 3-13 season. Plus, Drew, a religious family man, had only seen one part of New Orleans before, Bourbon Street. Whereas Miami had, perhaps a little less sin, Nick Saban, a team with a history of success, including a winning 2005 record. Why wouldn't Brees want to be a Dolphin? Well, first of all, the city of Miami wasn't so sure they wanted him. And then, when Brees visited, the trip wasn't so much, this is where you'll hang your hat, this is where you'll see your name in lights. It was actually an intensive medical evaluation that was kind of rough on his still healing shoulder. And after all that, the Miami doctors gave him a 25% chance of a comeback. Whereas the Saints were ready to make him their franchise QB right away, no physical needed. They were taking a chance, but a 3-13 team needed to do something bold. Drew became a Saint, and this city was happy to have him. The move paid off, quickly. New Orleans made it to the 06 NFC Championship, and Brees ended his first season in the Bayou with a passer rating of 96.2. Hey, Miami said there was a 25% chance he'd be good again, so they called it, basically. Just kidding, Nick Saban is still mad at the Dolphins doctors to this day. As the years passed, Brees kept succeeding. It certainly helped that his coach, Sean Payton, was an offensive mastermind. Also beneficial, Brees finally had a stable position on his team. In San Diego, he was a piece trying to fit into a puzzle. In New Orleans, he was the keystone piece the puzzle was built around. And then in 2010, 4 seasons after his supposed career-ending injury, 5 seasons after he became a Pro Bowler but not a franchise QB, 6 seasons after he was replaced, and 9 seasons after he was thought too small for football, Drew Brees and the Saints won the Super Bowl. He also won Super Bowl MVP. Those became the crown jewels in the heaping pile of jewels Brees amassed by the end of his career. And that pile is all we can see now. It's how we define him. But for a very long time, his treasure chest was empty, and people were like, why do you even have a treasure chest? Gonna store the signed jerseys nobody wants in there? Considering post-retirement they're going for around $500 each, wouldn't have been a bad move. Thanks for watching, everybody. I certainly hope you had a nice time. But that's just the sort of caring, empathetic person that I am. I'm great. We've got more Prism and more NFL, and a subscribe button. Would you look at that? For Secret Base, I'm Clara Morris. Good night and good game.